So welcome to this video, and in this video I want to talk to you about what I consider to be the biggest deception that has ever taken place on this planet, and it's occurring right now at this very moment, and 99% of people are not aware that it's occurring. Now, you may have noticed something during this whole pandemic, quarantine, lockdown situation, especially on social media, that there is this relentless positivity, which, by the way, I applaud. I think it's great that everybody is looking at the bright side and trying to see what is good in this situation and trying to make the most of it. So I'm not criticizing that in any way at all. What I'm aware of is this slowly creeping political correctness about positivity, that we only want to hear good news. We don't want to hear anyone saying anything negative, we don't want to hear any doom-mongers, anyone being critical or sharing bad news. All we want to hear is positivity and good news and kind of morale-boosting information. Now, as I said, I think it's great that we have as much positive news as possible. But we have to keep our ears and eyes open for people who are warning us of anything that might be going on, which is not good for us and not good for our society. And I have to tell you, there are many things going on. But I'm concerned about this kind of political correctness where only positivity is welcome. And it's a subtle thing I've just picked up on recently maybe in the last week. I've just picked up on it coming through social media, that we have to be positive and that we don't want to hear any bad news and we don't want to hear anything that's negative or anything that brings us down. We just want positivity. And of course, that could have the effect of making us close our ears to some information which might be essential, might be very important for us to hear. And there is a huge deception going on right now, primarily using the media, but it's all connected with the pandemic. And this is the deception of ushering in a new system. You may have noticed last year during the whole climate crisis situation, all the banners saying system change, not climate change, and how especially Greta Thunberg, was saying how the system is the problem and we've got to change a broken system. And if we just have a new system, then the earth will be okay. And the system she's referring to, of course, is capitalism. That capitalism is the problem and the capitalists are the problem because they invest in fossil fuels and they're being sponsored by fossil fuel companies. So there was the climate crisis, of course it still goes on. The climate clamour was very, very political, extremely political. And you have the right-wing people who are not buying the whole climate catastrophe. And you have the left-wing people who are saying, oh, the right-wings are to blame and the right-wing people are the problem and the capitalist system is the problem. We need a new system. We need a socialist system. So there's a lot of sentiment, a lot of pro-socialist sentiment drummed up, especially last year among the young people. And now what do we have here? We have a pandemic that brings capitalism conveniently to its knees. The whole system has been brought to its knees. And the government is having to step in. And it probably won't be long until the government start paying people's wages for them. And people have to stay at home. But the government say, well, don't worry. We'll pay your wages for you. And you don't have to go to work if you don't want to. You can just have an income for doing nothing. And of course, many people will be happy about this. And what I've seen is that socialism, a socialist system, out of necessity, is slowly being sneaked in, right under our very noses. And as I say, it's as if it's out of necessity. It's not, no one's forcing it, no one's saying, right, we're going to get rid of capitalism and bring in socialism, even though that's what the United Nations have been trying to do for some time. And I think they're one of their prominent members, Christiana Figueres, said, she's been quoted as saying that what they are trying to do is change the economic development model, and they're trying to do something they've never been done before. They're trying to change the economic development model, and that means changing from capitalism to socialism. And then, as I say, this pandemic has conveniently brought capitalism to its knees, and there's a lot of people celebrating, especially the people who are climate activists. They're thinking, wow, this is fantastic. The planes aren't flying, and all the shops are closed, and people are not driving around everywhere. This is brilliant. And so you've got this wonderful excuse for a new system, a socialist system, which is sneaking in under our noses, by the way. And there are many, many people who are happy about this. Yet, if you know anything about the United Nations and their agendas, specifically Agenda 21, which was changed to Agenda 2030 in recent years, you'll know that they are a totally socialist organisation. They were founded by a convicted communist spy, Alger Hiss, in 1945. Their original charter was co-authored by a Soviet communist, Andrei Vyshinsky. All 10 of their secretary generals have been have been socialists or communist sympathisers, and even the United Nations logo is based on the emblem for the Soviet Union. And you can see all that in a different video that I've made. But it's as clear as day, the United Nations are a purely socialist organisation, and they have drawn up a communist plan for the world called Agenda 21. And as I said, isn't it convenient how now, just the next year, the year after the whole climate crisis generated so much pro-socialist sentiment, so many people were crying out for a new system, change the system, destroy the system, and then, hey presto, the pandemic does just the job, brings capitalism to its knees. Now, the big deception is this ushering in of United Nations Agenda 21. And it's awful, it's brutal, it's dark, it's oppressive. And however, we're all being happily distracted by all the positive messages in social media, all the positive messages by actors posting on social media, making YouTube videos, making Instagram videos saying, hey, this is great, be happy, let's all come together as one and be a global family, and it's all this inspiring information to keep everyone happy is like it's placating people, kind of keeping them superficially happy and distracted. Well, what's happening, what the United Nations are doing, and what they are ushering in is truly awful. United Nations Agenda 21, aka Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, is a communist system from a communist organisation through and through. I've studied it and I've made a video on it, and all the evidence is it's plain to see when you investigate for yourself. And I'm concerned about how everyone is kind of being so distracted by this kind of social media happiness bandwagon, when what's really going on, well, it needs addressing. It needs everyone's attention. People should be aware of what's going on, because this is going to affect millions and millions and millions of people in a very serious way. So it's, like I say, it's unfashionable to be mentioning any bad news when everyone is trying to be relentlessly happy and stay positive and share only inspiration and only good news and only funny things, and all these Hollywood actors showing how caring they are and how good this is for the system, that we all come together and we all join forces and we all make the world a better place, which I'm totally for. But when there is a deception involved, I am not totally for it, because we need to keep our eyes open to the deception. And there is an enormous deception going on. People are being lulled into this sense of, humanity's great. Isn't humanity caring? Isn't aren't we all just one big happy family? But the United Nations are like a snake in the grass, and they have an awful, awful plan. Now, I recommend you look at my other videos. One of them is called 5G Techno-Communism, because 5G is a part of the United Nations. It's a key part of the United Nations communist agenda. And the part it plays is essentially monitoring every human being and keeping a track of all the data coming from every human being, but also as a control system, as like a weapon system for correcting and punishing humans with electromagnetic frequencies, because 5G has been shown to have weapon capabilities. It's been used by the United States military for crowd control. So you can direct 5G. 5G can be directed and used as a punishment system. So it's kind of silent ushering in of a 5G world, while we're all kept happy on social media by all these happy celebrities doing kind things and showing us, you know, what a wonderful world we are and how great humanity is. Humanity is great, but there is an evil element in society who have very, very bad intentions. And it's hard to believe that the most powerful government on the planet, the United Nations, who essentially now they have the rule of international law, since each member country gave up sovereignty in 2015 at the Paris Agreement, the United Nations are the most evil because they are the most power hungry and the most corrupt, because they are the most powerful organization, and power corrupts like nothing else. Power corrupts absolutely, is what they say. So I'm here just to tell you, keep your eyes open. Yes, be positive. Yes, be enthusiastic about positive change, but don't close your eyes to some of the very, very sinister stuff which is happening, because we need to do something about it, because there's a big, big distraction agenda going on with social media, with all the stuff in the news. It's all to divert your attention on this thing, on this area, so that you don't look over here to the United Nations and see how they're implementing their Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. They're implementing it right now. And you just wait and see how soon it is before everyone is offered a wage, a free wage just for staying at home, courtesy of the government who care so much about them. Because this will be the beginning of slavery. Once you are dependent on the government for your income, and they can decide whether to stop it or continue it, and they can decide what things they like about the way you live your life and what things they don't like, whether you're politically correct. Are you a politically correct person? You know, are you looking at not allowed YouTube videos and not allowed websites, like, you know, alt-right and far-right, or anything right, you know? Are you looking at right-wing websites, which are very quickly starting to be labelled as, like, the right wing is very easily being labelled as, you know, extremist, even though just because they may not jump on the politically correct bandwagon, and the right wing are seen as the enemy or the bad guys or the people who are standing in the way of a society of tolerance and peace, because they don't tolerate, we're told they don't tolerate this and they don't tolerate that. They're very, what's the word? Exclusive and intolerant. And of course we all want a tolerant, peaceful society, but when you're told that a certain group are intolerant and they are an obstacle to having a peaceful society, and especially people who believe what they hear and believe the media and are sucked in by all the very convincing information in their TV programs and in their movies, which is influencing them without them even realizing it, then very easily we can start to perceive an enemy who's not really an enemy. So be aware and also stay grounded, okay? Be careful of floating off into this bubble of, oh, everything's beautiful and everything's perfect, and oh, we're just one happy family, and everything's just great. This virus is having a good effect on humanity, and it's actually helping us all to become more loving. That may be the case, and if it is the case, that's great, absolutely wonderful. But there are other agendas which I am very, very well aware of, and I'm trying to make other people aware of them too. So please keep your eyes open. Don't just float off into a happy bubble. Keep your eyes open for any deception, and keep your eyes on the United Nations and what they are bringing in. The United Nations are very powerful, and believe it or not, they have many actors on their payroll. I could name names, but I won't do that. But they have many actors who are working for them, and more than you think, not just the obvious ones like Leo DiCaprio and Angelina Jolie, and they have other actors who are on their payroll and who are being used to put out certain messages and to play a certain part in this enormous planet-wide deception where a communist system is being sneaked in right under our noses with 5G as the data surveillance and punishment tool to keep us all in line. So thank you for watching this video, and just remember that we don't have to accept anything. We are not slaves, and if we don't want something, collectively, if we choose we don't want something, then it can't be forced upon us. And believe me, we don't want 5G. We really don't want 5G. When you do your research and you learn about how it's been planned to be used, you will not want it outside your house. So please look at my other videos, especially the one called 5G and Techno-Communism, which is very enlightening. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.